Kopanang Africa Against Xenophobia is calling for Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi to step down. It follows a march in the Johannesburg CBD on Saturday to denounce Operation Dudula following recent operations targeting foreign nationals. Well, we're joined by the Home Affairs Minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, tonight. Dr. Motsoaledi, good evening, and thank you for your time tonight. You've heard the call for you to step down. Will you be doing that?
Well, that's a joke, Kathy. Firstly, I think they must get their facts clear. That's the first thing. And secondly, I've never heard in my life people who are harbored in the country from other countries calling for a minister to resign. Anyway, let me tell you when I will resign, Kathy. After looking out in jail, all the rascals who are defaulting our systems, who are getting identities that they don't belong to them, who are breaching our laws of the country and destroying our sovereignty. After I've locked them all in and threw away the keys, then I'll resign. But before that, they must forget.
The concern, Minister, seems to stem out of the fact that we've got, of course, a growing number of campaigns in the country that are targeted at, so-called illegal immigrants or undocumented migrants. And the impression is that your office and the broader stance and posture of the South African government is one that gives credence to some of the statements that are being made, regardless of the extent to which they have been inflammatory and in some instances have led to tensions and violence in communities.
Well, Kathy, if anybody breaks the law, the police must act, and we support that wholeheartedly. What I'm doing in my statements is about implementing the laws of our country. If I'm breaking the law, then I must be condemned, and somebody must show me where I'm breaking the law. The statements I'm making and my actions are about the law. Take, for instance, the sting operation which we did about a Pakistani national. I mean, that is horrible, Kathy, and maybe people need to understand that. South Africans are being replaced on the national population roll by some people from other countries, many of whom who claim to be asylum seekers, and we're supposed to be quiet because it will be inflammatory statements. That's very wrong. I'm not going to be quiet. Not when the sovereignty of the country, our systems and our identification system are being destroyed. We will end up not being a country.
Of course, the challenge, Minister Motsoaledi, is that the administrators of that system is government. And so if anybody is to blame for the extent of corruption that has taken place and even identity theft that prevails, it is the government itself.
Are you surprised that it's government that is acting? Government never sent those people. It's public servants who have been sent to serve in government. And am I not taking action against them? Are we not firing them? I'm taking action, and we are firing quite a number of them, because that's not how government should work. So yes, it is true. It is they are defrauding through government, but it is the same government through what you call political leaders in government who are acting, and that's why I'm looking in both Home Affairs officials and foreign nationals who are involved in these scams together.
Let's talk about the other issue that has been raised here, and it's really about the perception of South Africa. And again, groups warning against this idea that South Africa will be and has been labeled as being a xenophobic country.
Kathy, I think you are aware that I wrote a very long statement, and you did interview me about it in City Press, explaining why I don't think we are xenophobic, definitely. Because I told you what they regard as xenophobia is poor people who are struggling to survive on the ground. If it was xenophobia, Keith, I can assure you a lot of doctors from other countries who are here. In our hospitals, many of them, a lot of academics, some of whom are even heading our academic institution, a lot of people in the finance institution, the state-owned enterprises, all of them are there. They are from other countries. Nobody is saying anything about them. The war is among the poorest of the poor. They are fighting for survival. It's not about xenophobia. There is internal migration in the country, Kate. And you can imagine migrating from Skukune and coming here trying to look for a job, and then you find somebody also looking for the whole same job, and you start fighting among yourselves. That's what's happening. It is definitely not xenophobia as far as I'm concerned, because I don't know South Africa to be a xenophobic country.
Let's talk about how you are engaging with other countries on this issue, especially those that may be concerned about the well-being of their citizens.
Casey, there are laws. South Africa is a signatory, together with other countries. The signatory of the United Nations Convention of 1951, which was ratified by countries in 1967. And because South Africa was not a democracy, it was not welcoming people. It was not welcoming asylum seekers or refugees at all. The borders were sealed. South Africa only ratified that convention in 1996. All these countries are signatories. And guess what, Kate? Let me tell you, go to the United Nations, and I even have a copy of that. See what countries have signed for. We are the ones who have signed for more liberal laws than any country, and I'm repeating, than any country. Because many of them, when they were signing, some of the things they didn't accept. So we are the ones who signed more liberal laws. That's why a person no less than the head of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Ms. Filippo Grande, when he came in 2019, he declared that South Africa has got the most progressive refugee laws in the whole world. So people who are our neighbors, they know what they have signed for, they know what we have signed for, they know the rules. Migration is not happening in a vacuum. It is regulated by no less a body than United Nations itself.
So how do you go about, implementing the laws of the country and yet at the same time safeguarding what are the rights of the individuals that are in the country as well? Because, of course, the context of where we are is important. And so it matters the posture that government takes on these issues, again, given what we have seen over the last couple of months.
Casey, I am saying anybody who breaks the law, they must be arrested. And the police must do that. Because this is a country that works on laws and the Constitution. In Home Affairs, we implement immigration laws in terms of the Immigration Act of 2002. We implement refugees and asylum laws in terms of the Refugee Act 1998. We implement the citizenship laws of and identification acts of the country in terms of the Citizenship Acts of 1995. And I'm saying if I'm breaking any one of those laws, somebody must point to me and say, here, you are not applying the law. And most of those laws, especially the Refugee Act, is the domestication of the United Nations Convention of 1951, which South Africa ratified in 1996. So we're working in terms of the laws.
So then, Minister, what do you make of the likes of Operation Dudula and the Dudula movement? Because often when they go on their campaigns and are asking people to produce documentation, they say they're helping you as the Home Affairs Department do your job because you have been unable to do so.
We are not unable to do so, Casey. We are not able to do so. Even police get help from members of the public. Home Affairs get help from members of the public by tipping us, not by taking the law into their own hands. When we went about on Thursday evening on that sting operation, it's because we were tipped off. When in November I went to the Lebombo border post to arrest 6 Home Affairs officials, 1 South African police officer, and 1 Mozambican hawker. It was because of members of the public who tell us, and we follow the requisite laws. Even police, when police arrest criminals, they are tipped off That's why there is crime intelligence. What will be wrong is if people take the law into their own hands. And when they do so, it's police who must act, not Home Affairs, because we don't have the instruments or the legal backing to do so. Anybody who breaks the law of the country is who takes the law into their own hands by punishing people on their own. That one, police take action, and I want to believe they are doing so.
So do you support operations like Operation Dudula and the Dudula movement?
Kathy, I am saying we are a country that is ruled by law. If what they are doing is breaking the laws, then you must go and talk to Minister Clearly, who will tell you what they are doing about it. We, on our side, we apply the law of the country. We'll work with anybody who applies the law. We'll work with anybody who become a whistleblower. Anybody who wants to help us must help us within the confines of the law, must not take the work in their own hands. We have got immigration officers who are allowed by law to arrest anybody who is in the country illegally and take them through a statutory process to Lindela Repatriation Camp, Repatriation Center, which was formed in terms of a law of government, and it follows the law of the country that after getting arrested, you are taken to a court of law within 48 hours, and the magistrate must confirm that you get deployed. That's what we are following. Any other person who is following something else, police must take action.
So if I understand you correctly, Minister, and it's important for you to be clear on this issue, what these members of the public are doing by going around asking people for their documentation, asking people to show that they are in the country legitimately, that is wrong and it is in fact breaking the law.
That must be done by immigration officers or police officers. Yes, it's wrong if it's done by any member of the public. And that's why I'm saying if something like that happens, police are the ones who must assess and realize that somebody is breaking the law. The people who go around the country asking about people, about their immigration documents, are immigration officers hired in the Department of Home Affairs. They are even allowed to arrest you and hand it over to police. They themselves can't even lock you up. They hand you over to police and give evidence why they think you have broken the law.
Are you going to be addressing this issue with the various groupings and campaigns that are taking place? Because again, when they're on the streets, they're saying they're helping Home Affairs do its job. And I hear you on the issue of the police, and we'll certainly put the relevant questions to that department. But as far as you're concerned, do you not think that there's scope here and really a mandate for you to address this issue directly with concerned South Africans?
Katie, I've just informed you how it works. Any South African is allowed to help us, and many did help us, and we've arrested people. What is wrong is for a South African to say they are helping us by turning into immigration officers. That's wrong. In the same way, if people say they are helping the police by turning into police officers themselves, that is wrong. In the same way, if anybody says I'm helping the army by turning themselves into army officers, that's wrong. I don't understand why it should be something that is debated. It's wrong because we have got officers who do so. If they come and be tipped off, they use the law to act. And that's what we've been doing. And we are still doing that in Home Affairs.
All right, let's leave it there for tonight. Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, he's the Home Affairs Minister.